Welcome to the SEO.co Search Engine Optimization Podcast. Digital marketing essentials and next level tactics. From offsite and on-site optimization to persuasive selling and everything in between. You'll learn actionable tips on what it takes to outright and outrank your competition. Now, here's your host, Nate Need.
Welcome to another episode of the SEO.co Search Engine Optimization Podcast. Today we're going to talk a little bit about getting published on major media outlets and high-profile media outlets. We have contributed to a number of media publications, including Forbes, Entrepreneur, The Huffington Post, Inc.com, Time Magazine, Fortune, MSN, The Wall Street Journal, Yahoo, Search Engine Land, Search Engine Watch, and the list goes on. And if you're here because you want to get links from major publications, this podcast is for you, and we're going to be walking you through the exact process of getting your site and yourself as an author, both as an author and to get established as a guest contributor on these publications. So there's several phases that we typically walk through. And getting published on a major publication, it requires a very carefully executed strategy that's divided into three basic phases. Phase one, establish your reputation, so you need to get your foot in the door. Phase two, once you do get your foot in the door, you're going to grow relationships among those that are at the publications. And then in phase three, you're going to grow those relationships over time and rinse and repeat. So once you really get your foot in the door for your first major publication, it makes subsequent publications that much easier to acquire as a guest contributor. As you might imagine, these major publications don't have any issue finding people who want to contribute and write for them. In fact, there's a supply-demand issue there, being that the supply heavily outweighs the demand for content, especially when it comes to the higher profile publishers out there. And so you need to really do a good job making yourself stand out. And there needs to be a why. Why are you both better than someone else who might want to write for these publications? And why do you stand out? What's your niche? How does your niche differentiate from all the other folks in your niche? And then how do you make sure that the content that you're producing is always on point and high quality, because that's really what's going to help you stand out and maintain that level of quality over the long haul. And so as you're doing this outreach and finding and sourcing opportunities from these major publishers, you're going to want to make sure that anything that you share with them as a quote unquote example is of the highest quality. So the first step is finding the publications and targeting, building yourself kind of a minor target list, and then going about sourcing the right individuals, getting past the gatekeepers of the folks at those publications where you might be able to establish yourself. It's also helpful when you're reaching out to these publications if you have established yourself on social channels, because it lends itself to credibility for getting access to and writing for them. You know, if you wanted to write for Forbes, for instance, the person who has, say, 50,000 Instagram or Twitter followers is more likely to get and have an opportunity to publish their content on Forbes than someone who does not. So having that the access to your own social footprint will be helpful in your promotion and getting your foot in the door. So as you identify the editors at these target publications, you're going to reach out, and you're going to be doing that through a number of channels, Twitter, Facebook, and of course, LinkedIn and email. As you get in touch with them, if their email address isn't provided, there are a number of tools that you can use to get access to them. We can link in the show notes to how to find anyone's email address. There's also great search tools, Boolean search in Google, that allows you to help find that, as well as just using LinkedIn and connecting with them directly, and then reaching out through LinkedIn Messenger. And most folks that are on LinkedIn actually publicly display their, I think it's like 60 to 80% of folks, something like that actually publicly display their email address once you're connected with them. So if you can get a connection and then pull the email address that way, that's one method. In the show notes, we'll link to a couple other ways to find and source the contact information for some of these publishers. And then, of course, you're going to reach out with a cold email, introducing yourself, maybe giving some examples of previous posts that you've done and previous high quality content you've done. And really it's about it. And once you've done that, it's really a numbers game to get your name out there and get these publishers to want to use you and have your content be on their websites as a regular contributor. Once you get your foot in the door and start writing for these publications, you're going to want to make notes in terms of what they like to see and be accommodating to these the editors at the publication. So you're going to fall right within the guidelines of both the niche that you have represented at the outset, as well as the guidelines that they might have for their publication. That could be in terms of both length and how you link to things, the types of content you're talking about, how you're talking about it, and then making sure that they have to do as infrequent and few amount of edits as possible to get the content published. And so as you maintain, as you build these relationships and you become good at knowing what they want, you can just give them more and more of what they want. And the best part about these relationships is once you have them established, you're going to want to keep them up by writing and contributing regular content to the publication. So that ensures that you have a long-standing history and can build your brand using these brand mentions from these high authority websites and publishers that are out there. And that requires really to have a good cadence and a rhythm for writing on a regular basis. Once you do, you can learn more about your audience because you'll get feedback from comments, and you'll be able to tailor even more the content that you create for that publication to be listed on their site and get the feedback that you need to make your content good. So when it comes to growing your audience on major media, we'd love to have a conversation with you. Please reach out, comment, subscribe, like, and we hope to hear you and see you again soon.
Thank you for joining us on the SEO.co podcast. We appreciate your time. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the show, and visit SEO.co for more resources based on today's topic, as well as access to more podcast episodes to help you improve your site's long-term SEO success.